Will the boy with one leg confront the mermaid's deadly secret? Imagine this. A boy, burdened by loss and disability, stands on the banks of a river that has already taken everything from him. His father, gone. His leg, gone. What if, in the depths of this very river, lies something more terrifying, more powerful than anything he's faced before? Will he be forced to confront a mermaid's deadly secret that holds the key to his survival or his destruction? The river is about to reveal its greatest secret, and Nnamdi must decide. Will he confront the curse, or will he be swallowed whole by the fears he spent a lifetime running from? Prepare for an unforgettable story that will leave you breathless. But before we dive into Nnamdi's harrowing journey, ask yourself, if you were in his shoes, would you risk everything to save the ones you love? Hit the like button if you're ready to face this challenge with him, and share your thoughts in the comments below. The morning sun rose weakly over the horizon, spilling a dull orange glow across the riverbank. The wind was cold, carrying the smell of damp earth and salt. A young boy named Nnamdi limped across the sand, his crutch sinking into the soft ground with every step. He had only one leg, but that leg carried the weight of 1,000 burdens. His small frame was thin from years of struggle, and his clothes clung to his body, worn and faded from days spent by the river. "Papa, wait!" Nnamdi called out, his voice trembling as he tried to catch up. The old fisherman was already pushing his boat into the current. His movements were slower than usual. His shoulders sagged under the strain. Nnamdi noticed it immediately. His father had always been strong, too strong to show weakness. But that morning, something in his eyes was different. There was weariness there, and pain. The river was alive, restless. The water slapped against the sides of the boat as if warning them not to go. "Papa, let's wait till tomorrow," Nnamdi said softly, fear creeping into his words. His father forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "The river feeds us, my son. If I don't go, we don't eat." He coughed, a deep, raspy sound that made Nnamdi's stomach twist. But he said nothing more. He only watched as his father climbed into the boat and pushed off from the shore, the mist swallowing him piece by piece. The boy stood there, his single leg trembling from the strain of standing on the uneven sand. He hated the feeling of helplessness, hated how his body betrayed him when he needed strength the most. He looked down at his crutch, then at the river that had taken his mother years ago. Now it felt like it was waiting for his father too. Minutes passed, then hours. The air grew heavy. Dark clouds began to gather above, their reflection rippling across the once peaceful water. The wind howled like a wounded beast, and Nnamdi's heart pounded. He could no longer see his father clearly. The boat was just a shadow fighting against the storm. "Papa!" he shouted again, his voice almost lost in the roar of the wind. "Papa, come back!" But no answer came, only the sound of waves colliding. Nnamdi's heart dropped as he saw the boat tilt dangerously to one side. The net slipped from his father's hands, disappearing into the churning water. And then it happened. His father's body collapsed, his hand reaching out as if calling for help. Nnamdi's world shattered in that instant. "No! Papa!" he screamed, dragging his crutch through the sand as he stumbled toward the river. The water hit his knees, then his chest. He didn't care. He couldn't feel the cold. His body trembled violently as he reached for his father's arm. But the river was cruel. The current pulled harder, swallowing his father before his fingertips could even brush against him. "Please, come back! Please!" he cried. His voice cracked. His crutch slipped, and he fell face first into the muddy water. But he didn't stop fighting. His arms flailed, splashing, searching, hoping. The current only laughed, dragging everything he loved beneath the surface. For a long moment, everything went silent. The storm faded into whispers. The boy lay there soaked, his chest heaving, his heart breaking. His father was gone. He dragged himself to the shore and sat there, motionless, staring at the river that had taken everything from him. The air around him felt colder now, the sky darker, the world emptier. Have you ever lost someone so suddenly that your soul refused to believe it? A soft voice seemed to echo in his mind. If you've ever had to watch someone you love slip away before your eyes, hit the like button and share your story in the comments. Maybe someone out there will understand your pain. Nnamdi lifted his head slowly. The river had grown eerily calm again. The waves lapped softly against the shore as if nothing had happened. And then he saw it, a shadow beneath the water. At first he thought it was his father, his breath caught, his hope flickering like a dying flame. But as the shadow drew closer, he saw something else, something that didn't belong in the world of men. A pale hand broke through the surface, followed by a head of long, dark hair that glistened like wet silk. Nnamdi froze. The figure rose slowly, impossibly beautiful, yet terrifying. Her eyes glowed faintly, like blue fire in the dim light. Her skin shimmered like pearls beneath the water, and her voice was a haunting melody that chilled his bones. "You shouldn't have come here," she said softly. Nnamdi's throat tightened. He tried to speak, but his voice was trapped between fear and disbelief. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head, her lips curling into a strange smile. "I am the river's keeper," she said. Her voice carried both sadness and authority. Her belly was round, swollen with life. "And you are now part of its story." Nnamdi stumbled back, his heart hammering. His crutch slipped and he nearly fell. "What do you want from me?" he stammered. The mermaid's eyes darkened. "The river has chosen you, child. It took what it must, but it can give back too." He stared, shaking his head in disbelief. "You mean my father? You can bring him back?" "Yes," she whispered, her eyes flickering like light on water. "But everything comes with a price." The boy's heart twisted. "What price?" "You must face your fear," she said. "The river only gives life to those willing to drown in its truth." Nnamdi's breath came in sharp bursts. Fear, confusion, and longing battled inside him. The mermaid floated closer, her presence both comforting and horrifying. "Would you risk everything to bring someone you love back?" she asked softly. "Or would you let fear decide your fate?" Nnamdi's eyes burned with tears. "I'd do anything to see him again." The mermaid smiled, her voice melting into the air like smoke. "Then the river awaits," she said, before sinking slowly back beneath the surface. Nnamdi stood alone again, trembling. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving the world painted in crimson and shadow. He took one step toward the water, his crutch sinking into the wet sand. Nnamdi stood motionless by the river, staring at the place where the mermaid had disappeared. His hands were trembling, his crutch barely supporting his weight. His heart felt like it was breaking into 1,000 pieces, each beat a painful reminder that his father was truly gone. The river had claimed him. It always took what it wanted. And now it was calling for him too. His father had always warned him about the water, the dark pull of the river, how it could swallow a man whole. But Nnamdi never believed it until now. The air around him had grown thick, heavy with the scent of salt and damp earth. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something. "I'm not ready for this," Nnamdi whispered to himself, his voice breaking. He wanted to run, to flee from the river and its supernatural forces that seemed to haunt him, that seemed to have chosen him for something much larger than he could understand. But he couldn't move. It was as if the river had already wrapped its cold, invisible fingers around him, holding him in place. "I can't do this." The words came out as a sob. Nnamdi wiped his eyes, trying to blink away the tears. How could he, someone so weak, someone with one leg, ever face whatever the river had in store for him? What could he possibly offer? Suddenly, a soft ripple in the water caught his eye. A shadow moved just beneath the surface, and his heart skipped a beat. Was it the mermaid again? His breath caught in his throat as the figure emerged from the water, not as a mere shadow, but as something more, something otherworldly. Her eyes locked onto his, glowing with a strange, unearthly light. The mermaid's face was a mixture of beauty and something far darker. Her long, tangled hair shimmered with the colors of the ocean, greens, blues, and silver. Her body seemed both human and ethereal, wrapped in the ancient power of the sea. But what struck Nnamdi most were her eyes, fierce, glowing like two orbs of fire, yet filled with an ancient sorrow. She was back. He stepped back, his crutch digging into the ground as he tried to steady himself. He was scared, terrified of what she might ask, what she might demand of him. But deep inside, he also felt something else, an undeniable pull toward her. It was as if the river had a claim on him, like he was bound to it, destined to face whatever trials it set before him. "You came back," he managed to whisper, his voice barely audible against the rising wind. The mermaid tilted her head, her gaze unwavering. "You cannot outrun the river, Nnamdi," she said, her voice low and haunting. The words seemed to float in the air, weaving through the trees like a song from another time. The boy's heart raced, but he forced himself to stay rooted in place. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice trembling with both fear and defiance. "I can't help you. I'm just a crippled boy." "What can I do?" The mermaid's smile was soft but sad, and she stepped closer to the water's edge, her feet barely skimming the surface. Her long, glowing tail flicked beneath the water, creating ripples that seemed to travel with purpose. "You are not just a crippled boy, Nnamdi." Her voice was soft, but her words carried weight. "You have more strength within you than you know. The sea has chosen you. It has called you to something greater." Nami shook his head, his mind spinning. "I'm not strong. Look at me. I'm nothing without my father, and now he's gone." His chest tightened, and for a moment he felt like he might collapse. "How could I ever be the one to help you?" The mermaid's expression softened, and she stepped closer to him. Her gaze was intense, but there was a flicker of compassion there. She reached out, her cold hand brushing against his cheek in an almost tender gesture. "The river doesn't care about your weaknesses. It sees what lies beneath them." Nami pulled away slightly, startled by her touch, but something deep within him recognized the truth in her words. His father had never seen his missing leg as something to hold him back. He taught Nnamdi that strength wasn't just about what a body could do, it was about what a soul could withstand. "Why me?" Nnamdi asked, his voice hoarse. "Why did the river choose me?" The mermaid's eyes darkened, and the wind picked up, howling through the trees as if answering his question. She glanced down at her swollen belly, her hand instinctively resting on it. "The child I carry, he is the key." Her voice faltered for a moment, the weight of her words sinking into Nnamdi's heart like lead. "The child can save both of our worlds, but only if you help me." Nnamdi's heart thudded in his chest, and his crutch slipped from his hand, falling to the ground with a soft thud. He was reeling, unsure if he could process the words that the mermaid had just spoken. A child? What did she mean? How could a child born from the sea possibly save anything? "Save our worlds?" he repeated, almost in disbelief. "What are you talking about?" The mermaid stepped closer still, her tail flicking as the water splashed softly against her skin. "The river is a powerful force, Nnamdi. It holds life and death within its depths. It binds us all, man and sea, earth and water. But there is a darkness that threatens to consume everything we hold dear." She paused, her eyes searching his face. "Your father knew this, which is why he tried to protect you. But now, the river has chosen you. It's your destiny to face the curse and protect the child I carry. Only then can we save your world." Nnamdi took a step back, his mind spinning, his heart racing. His father had always warned him about the river, about the things it could take away. But now the mermaid was telling him that it was his responsibility to face it, to face what lurked beneath the water. "I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this," Nnamdi whispered, his voice barely a breath. The mermaid smiled, a soft, knowing smile. "Strength isn't about what you can see. It's about what you're willing to face, even when you don't believe you can. The river has already begun to call you. You cannot escape it, but you can fight it." The words echoed in Nnamdi's ears, and for the first time, he felt a flicker of something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. "Will you help me?" the mermaid asked, her voice steady but tinged with desperation. Nnamdi stared at the water, the fear and uncertainty twisting within him. But in his heart, he knew he couldn't run anymore. Not from the river, not from his destiny. He nodded slowly. "I'll help you, but I don't know how." The mermaid's smile deepened. "That is enough." As the sun began to set, casting the world in golden shadows, Nnamdi stepped forward, his crutch sinking into the wet earth, and followed the mermaid into the unknown. Nnamdi's heart raced as he followed the mermaid deeper into the river's embrace. The air around him was heavy, laden with an otherworldly energy. The world seemed to grow darker with each step, as though the very earth itself were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The river's surface shimmered with a strange, almost hypnotic glow, and the deeper they moved, the more he felt the weight of the curse wrapping around him. He glanced back at the shore, where the village huts were now just a distant blur, and the last traces of sunlight began to fade into the horizon. It was as if he had crossed into another world, one where the rules of nature no longer applied. The mermaid, Mama Ocean, floated beside him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dimming light. She was no longer the terrifying figure from the river, but a strange guide, leading him into a destiny that felt both terrifying and inevitable. "You must understand, Nnamdi," she said, her voice calm but filled with an intensity that sent chills down his spine. "The river is a living force. It doesn't forgive, it doesn't forget. It takes what it wants, but it also gives if you can meet its challenges." Nnamdi nodded, though the fear in his chest was growing with each passing moment. "What do you mean, challenges?" Mama Ocean's smile faded, replaced with a solemn expression. "The river will show you your greatest fears. The deeper you go, the harder it will be to face them. But you cannot retreat. If you do, the curse will take everything you've ever loved, and you will never escape." Nnamdi swallowed hard. His hands trembled, but he steadied himself, gripping his crutch tightly. "I've already lost everything." "That's why you must face what is left of you," she replied softly. "To conquer the curse, you must confront your own darkness. And only then will you be able to protect the child and break the river's hold over you." As they ventured further into the dense jungle, the sounds of nature faded. The air grew thick and suffocating, as if the world itself had been holding its breath. The moon, now rising high above the trees, cast a pale light over the path before them, but even it seemed dim in the oppressive darkness surrounding them. Nnamdi's heart was pounding in his chest. What did she mean by confront his darkness? He was already carrying so much grief, so much fear. Could the river really take even more from him? And what if he couldn't face the challenge ahead? Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet shifted. He stumbled, his crutch slipping from his hand as he collapsed to the ground. His leg, the one he had always hated, throbbed with pain, but it was the fear that gripped him now. He glanced around, his eyes darting from shadow to shadow, as if the very air was alive with danger. "What's happening?" Nnamdi gasped, his voice barely a whisper. Mama Oshun didn't answer at first. Instead, she stepped back, her gaze darkening as the ground beneath them began to tremble. A low, guttural growl echoed through the trees, a sound that was both animal and unnatural. Nnamdi's pulse quickened as the sounds of the jungle grew distorted, the rhythm of the world becoming jagged and broken. Then from the darkness, they came. Shadows, creatures made of the very earth and water around them, emerged from the jungle. Their forms were indistinct at first, like twisted versions of animals, their faces distorted and hideous. Their bodies seemed to shift and change with each movement, like shadows that couldn't decide whether they wanted to be human or beast. Nnamdi froze. His heart pounded in his chest, his breath shallow. His first instinct was to run, to flee from whatever these creatures were. But he knew he couldn't run anymore. Face them, Nnamdi. Mama Oshun's voice was steady, but there was an urgency in it. These are the things you've been running from, the fears that hold you back. You must face them or die to them. Nnamdi's throat tightened. His mind screamed at him to fight, to flee, but his weakened body betrayed him. The memories of the river's call, his father's death, the weight of his missing leg, all of it rushed to the surface, drowning him in doubt. How could he fight these creatures when he couldn't even stand on his own? The first creature lunged at him, its claws outstretched, but Nnamdi barely moved in time. He ducked, the creature's claws grazing his shoulder as it passed, and he stumbled back, pain shooting up his leg. His breath caught in his throat as the second creature advanced, its twisted face contorted into a snarl. "I can't do this!" he shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. "I'm not strong enough." But Mama Ocean's voice broke through the panic, clear and calm. "Strength is not in the body alone. It's in your heart, your will to fight even when everything tells you to give up." Nnamdi's eyes stung as tears blurred his vision. He wanted to run. He wanted to turn away and never face these monsters. But his father's voice echoed in his mind. "You are stronger than you know, Nnamdi. Never let the river see you give up." With a scream that cut through the night, Nnamdi gripped his crutch tightly, using it like a weapon. He swung it toward the creature closest to him, his hands shaking as he connected with its side. It let out a shrill scream, recoiling back into the shadows. "That's it," Mama Oshun called out. "You have the strength, Nnamdi. Fight your fears." Nnamdi's chest heaved as the remaining creatures circled him. His leg burned with pain, but he was no longer afraid. Something inside him had shifted. He could feel it. He wasn't just a boy with one leg anymore. He was more than that. He was someone who could face the dark things within himself. And as the creatures lunged at him again, he raised his crutch, no longer running. He was ready to fight. Nnamdi's breath came in ragged gasps as the last of the shadowy creatures slunk back into the jungle, vanishing into the darkness. His body trembled, but not from the fear that had gripped him moments ago. No. Now he was shaking from the adrenaline of what he had just survived, the raw, untamed terror that had tried to consume him. His crutch had slipped from his hand, but he didn't care. The world around him felt both still and alive, as if the river itself was watching him. His heart was still pounding in his chest, but there was something else now, something new. He had done it. He had faced the creatures, his fears, and he had survived. The jungle, once filled with the eerie sounds of the night, fell silent. The world seemed to pause for a moment, just for him. And then, the voice of the mermaid, Mama Oshun, broke through the silence. "You did well, Nnamdi." Her voice was gentle, but there was a note of approval in it that made him feel lighter, even though his body ached from the battle. Nnamdi's eyes widened as he caught his breath. "I didn't think I could do it. I thought I would lose." Mama Oshun finished the sentence for him. "That is what fear does. It makes you believe that you cannot move forward, that you cannot fight." He looked down at his shaking hands, his thoughts still spinning. "But I'm still scared. The worst of the river, the curse, it's still ahead of me. What if I can't face what comes next?" His voice faltered, doubt creeping in despite the victory. "The fear doesn't go away," she replied softly. "It stays with you, lurking in the shadows, waiting for a moment of weakness. But the more you face it, the smaller it becomes. You cannot escape it, but you can conquer it." What happens next? Will Nnamdi conquer the river's deadly secret, or will fear swallow him whole? The stakes are higher than ever, and Nnamdi's biggest challenge is still ahead. If you're on the edge of your seat, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss part 2. The journey's far from over, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Leave a comment below and let me know. What would you do if you were Nnamdi? Could you face your darkest fears? Subscribe now and stay tuned. Part 2 is coming soon.